Jehovah's Witnesses recently published an article titled Why Respect for Life Matters on their official website. The article outlines various actions that supposedly demonstrate respect for life, from quitting harmful habits like smoking to promoting safety measures and kindness to others. On the surface, the message seems universally positive, encouraging health, safety, and a balanced, respectful life. However, when viewed in the context of the organization's infamous and fatal no blood transfusion policy, the discussion of respect for life becomes glaringly hypocritical. While Jehovah's Witnesses claim to respect life and advocate practices that protect health and safety, their steadfast refusal to accept life-saving blood transfusions has resulted in the preventable deaths of countless members. This contradiction is at the heart of why their message about respecting life rings hollow.
Everything happened so fast. Everyone thought that because so much blood was lost, my life was in danger and I would need a blood transfusion.
The medical professionals were describing treatments that I wasn't familiar with. I was in my mind trying to think, have I heard of this? Do I know what this is? Have I read about it?
She explained it was a complicated surgery and that because I didn't take blood, it would be obviously more serious.
We love life, and in any medical situation, we want treatments that preserve or restore our health. But more important, we want to respect the Creator of life and His law on blood. God first spoke that law to Noah's family. After the flood, God told them that animals could serve as food, but He added, "Only flesh with its life, its blood, you must not eat." Blood represents the life of a creature and should not be misused. God repeated this law to ancient Israel with clear instructions. You must not eat it. You should pour it out on the ground like water. It was the same for early Christians. They received written direction to keep abstaining from blood. Jehovah's Witnesses still obey that command today, even though it can be a challenge to understand how that command should be applied to the numerous medical treatments now available. Donated whole blood is often separated into its four main components: red cells, white cells, platelets, and plasma. We abstain from blood by refusing to accept the transfusion of whole blood or of any of those four main components. How did one brother demonstrate the strength necessary to abstain from blood during an emergency?
When it comes to blood, we have to be prepared. So that's what I did. I researched it and I prayed to Jehovah so that I could understand His thoughts and follow them. And then I wrote down my wishes. I never thought that I would have such an accident. I'm very thankful to Jehovah that He helped me understand all of these things, and because of that, I was able to make and stick to a decision that pleases Him.
Blood fractions are things that are extracted from any one of the four main blood components. But the Bible does not provide specific direction about using these fractions. So to accept them or not is a personal decision. Some believe that a small isolated fraction is no longer blood. Others feel they can't use anything that came from blood. How did one sister make an informed decision about which medications containing blood fractions to accept?
When it came to fractions, for me, the challenge was figuring out what I really felt about it and deciding for myself what I would or wouldn't accept and why. At stake is our relationship with Jehovah and having a clean conscience before Him. So it's something that no one else could have done for me. I had to make clear to my doctor that I absolutely would not accept blood or any of the four main components. And I also explained to him what medications and other treatments that I was willing to accept.
What questions should Christians ask themselves about medical procedures involving their own blood? What if during the course of a therapy or procedure, some of my blood will be diverted outside my body, and the flow might be interrupted for a time. Does my conscience allow me to view this blood as still part of me, thus not requiring that it be poured out on the ground? What if, during a medical procedure, some of my own blood will be withdrawn, modified, and directed back into or onto my body? Does it trouble my Bible-trained conscience, or could I accept such a procedure? Am I aware that refusing all medical procedures involving the use of my own blood means that I would not accept a blood test, hemodialysis, or the use of a heart-lung bypass machine? What did one sister do to ensure she made a decision that would not disturb her conscience?
So my doctor presented me with an effective alternative procedure. It was something that I knew about, but I asked her to clarify the details to make sure that what she was talking about was okay with my conscience. So I made it a personal study project, and I also asked a mature friend to help me go through all the information. I made my decision with a clean conscience, and I knew it would make Jehovah's heart glad.
How can you make informed decisions about the medical use of blood? Pray for God's wisdom and Holy Spirit. Meditate on what the Bible teaches, and learn about the medical treatments that may be offered to you. If needed, ask for help to understand the options. And finally, put your decisions in writing. Jehovah God knows what is best for us. And when our resolve to obey Him is tested, He doesn't want us to feel alone. He wants to help us. When we accept His help and show respect for life that comes from Him, we can look forward to a paradise with perfect health and everlasting life.
They based their refusal to accept blood transfusions on a literal interpretation of biblical texts such as Acts 15, 28-29, which commands Christians to abstain from blood. For decades, this doctrine has led to Jehovah's Witnesses rejecting blood transfusions, even in life-threatening situations. And this hardline stance has caused numerous deaths, from children with treatable conditions to adults involved in accidents who could have been saved with a simple transfusion. Now, despite the fact that blood transfusions are a standard, often life-saving medical procedure, the organization frames accepting blood as a sin more grievous than death. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught that adhering to this interpretation of Scripture is a show of loyalty to God, even if it means forfeiting their lives or the lives of their children. And this doctrine exposes a profound inconsistency in their message of respect for life. The article stresses that disrespecting life can adversely affect the health and the safety of a community. It cites cigarette smoking, mass shootings, and impaired driving as a result of disrespecting life, and emphasizes the importance of making choices that protect both the individual health and the well-being of others. And while promoting personal health is certainly laudable, how can the Jehovah's Witnesses reconcile this message with their doctrine that encourages members to refuse life-saving blood transfusions? A cigarette smoker may damage their health gradually over the years, but the denial of a blood transfusion in a medical emergency results in immediate preventable death. The loss of life in these situations is not accidental, but rather a direct result of the organization's teaching. And their rejection of blood transfusions has led to untold numbers of premature deaths. How is this stance compatible with promoting health and safety? The selective morality displayed here, emphasizing smoking cessation while ignoring the immediate dangers of their own deadly policy, shows that their version of respect for life is limited and contradictory. And the article further encourages members to be safety conscious, advising them to prevent accidents, maintain their homes, and drive safely. It quotes Deuteronomy 22 verse 8, which advises homeowners to build a parapet for their roofs to prevent injury to others, implying that individuals are responsible for preventing harm within their own sphere of influence. And this message is ironic in the light of the dangers of Jehovah's Witnesses' no blood policy. In medical emergencies, refusing blood transfusions is akin to ignoring the basic precautions the article advocates. In one, If one were to apply the principle of Deuteronomy 22 verse 8 to medical care, then failing to accept a life-saving treatment like a blood transfusion could be seen as morally negligent. By extension, the organization itself bears a level of responsibility for the harm its teachings cause. And instead of encouraging their members to build a parapet around their health by allowing life-saving treatments, they endorse a belief system that actively dismantles safety measures in medical emergencies. The organization's emphasis on safety in other areas is rendered meaningless when they simultaneously maintain a policy that knowingly puts lives at risk. And the article also calls for kindness to others, stressing the importance of respecting people regardless of racial, national, or social background. They cite Ephesians 4 verse 31 to 32, which encourages putting away bitterness, anger, wrath, screaming, and abusive speech in favor of kindness and compassion. And while the sentiment of kindness is commendable, there is a troubling disconnect between this message and the harsh realities of the no blood policy. How kind or compassionate is it to allow a child, parent, or a spouse to die because the organization forbids a medically necessary blood transfusion? The emotional and psychological trauma this doctrine inflicts on families is profound. Many individuals have had to watch their loved ones die slowly, knowing that a simple medical procedure could have saved them, but was denied due to religious doctrine. Is it truly kind to enforce a policy that causes avoidable deaths? This selective application of kindness underscores the hypocrisy in the organization's message. The kindness they preach, these interpersonal relationships, is starkly absent when it comes to life-saving medical care. And the article takes pride in Jehovah's Witnesses' involvement in humanitarian assistance. It mentions their relief efforts during natural disasters and their educational campaigns during the Ebola outbreaks in West Africa, emphasizing how their programs help both members and non-members. And humanitarian aid is important, but how can an organization that claims to provide life-saving assistance also promote a policy that has led to countless deaths? Their charitable efforts seem to be a public relations tactic rather than a genuine commitment to saving lives, especially when viewed in the context of their rigid adherence to the no blood doctrine. Moreover, their emphasis on obedience saves lives, as mentioned in the Ebola prevention campaign, reflects their broader belief in absolute obedience to organizational policies, no matter the cost. In the case of the blood transfusions, this obedience has directly led to the loss of lives, a tragic irony that makes their humanitarian work seem at best incomplete and at worst hypocritical. And Jehovah's Witnesses frequently claim that their no blood transfusion policy demonstrates respect for life because it allegedly aligns with God's commands. However, this selective respect for life only applies in narrow theological context. When weighed against the universal value of preserving life through modern medicine, their stance becomes indefensible. In essence, Jehovah's Witnesses appear to respect life only when it suits their religious interpretations. They criticize others for behaviors that harm life, such as smoking or drunk driving, but ignore their own doctrine's role in preventable deaths. This conditional respect for life is not genuine. Rather, it is an inconsistent application of moral principles that harms their credibility. And beyond the physical consequences of their no blood policy, the emotional and psychological toll on members who adhere to this doctrine is significant. Parents may be forced to choose between their religious beliefs and the life of their child. In some cases, family members may be shunned or ostracized if they choose to accept a transfusion, creating deep rifts within families and congregations. And the organization's leadership is well aware of the emotional devastation their policy causes. Yet, they continue to enforce it, showing a blatant disregard for the mental health of their members. And this stands in stark contrast to the article's call for kindness and respect in human interactions. So the Jehovah's Witnesses article, Why Respect for Life Matters, promotes messages that seem universally ethical, encouraging health, safety, kindness, and compassion. However, these positive themes are overshadowed by the harsh reality of the organization's blood transfusion policy. And by encouraging members to refuse life-saving blood transfusions, the organization actively disrespects the very life they claim to value. And this contradiction renders their calls for respecting life disingenuous and hypocritical. Until Jehovah's Witnesses address the fatal consequences of their no blood doctrine, any discussion of respect for life remains hollow and insincere. The true respect for life lies in valuing human life above the rigid dogma, allowing individuals to receive the medical care they need to survive.